Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being your show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, a good chunk of this episode, or at least, probably I'd say half of it, is dealing with Daryl and the others being trapped in, Alpha's trap. The fact, also led there because of Carol's desperation to go after Alpha, but the fact of the matter is they're literally stuck inside a cave system with all of their walkers and stuff like that. And now it's like, all right, trying to maneuver around them, like they're like playing. It's almost like a Tremors aspect to it, because they're like literally hopping from rock to rock. If you don't remember, that's how they kind of got around in the first Tremors to a certain extent. And that's obviously not the easiest thing in many different regards, because obviously you have like Kelly, whose ankle is, still messed up and everything. But, I'm surprised. Luckily, things still kind of went all fairly without a hit. Obviously, Magna is really pissed at Carol, because it's like, it's because what were you thinking? You led us all into this. But, everyone else is trying to be like, yo, this isn't a time for that. It's like, we literally got to work together to survive. So the fact of the matter is there's no time for this argument. But later on, the conversation between Aaron and Magna kind of explains why she's also so on edge. Also why she's so desperate to get out. It's because it's like she can't let things stay the way they have been. Like, obviously things between her and Yumiko super didn't end on a good way. And it's like, she doesn't want that to be the last thing she ever ends up saying to Yumiko. She don't want that to be like that. She don't want to have any regrets. So it's like she's desperate to get back to kind of make. Granted, they all kind of have. None of them want to die. Once again, Jerry's got a family to get back to. Aaron's got a family to get back to. But everyone wants to live anyway. And I thought it was kind of interesting, because there was this moment where Carol starts kind of she's like short of breath. She's like, no, I'm just tired. And then Daryl was like, hey, she's claustrophobic. And then I was like, wait, what? I was like, I don't remember that ever coming up, that she's claustrophobic, And then she even brings it up later on. She's like, I don't remember ever telling you. I never told you I was claustrophobic. And he was like, if we went by what you told me, I wouldn't know shit. And she's like, look who's talking. Neither one of them is very big on sharing. Neither one of them was the biggest talkers. And so for the fact of the matter, for it to come down to that, I think that's so fascinating, because he's trying to talk to her and once again, you could get into the whole argument about okay, revenge, it's never the best solution, because obviously it's that adage, not adage, but that whole saying of basically when you're out for revenge, two graves, one for the person you're after and one for yourself. Sadly, in this situation, it's dig a grave not only for yourself and the person you're after, but also everyone else around you, because they kind of get caught up in it. Everyone else kind of suffers as around. That's why I think she tries to keep a distance, but obviously, Carol's kind of made a lot of moves recently that obviously me and I'm sure quite a few other people, especially people within the confines of obviously the show itself, people not liking the fact that you're making these choices, but it comes from a place you can understand. It's because even Daryl's the fact of the matter is, talk to me. He's for one, I already got to deal with the fact is with Aaron and whole Gamma situation, but now I got to worry about you, because he's he's literally afraid to turn his back away from Carol, because he's if he's not looking at her, she's bound to kind of go off and continue doing something crazy. So for him, it's I need to and I think, and I might have brought this up before, but I think Daryl does understand what Carol's going through. He was in literally the same situation to a certain extent, where it's he was so desperate for revenge. Obviously he's lost a lot of people that he's cared about. He's lost his own brother. The fact of the matter is everything that went down with Negan, him and Maggie were so desperate for their need for revenge. Obviously that led to complications between him and Rick. Obviously he thinks Rick is dead, so it's kind of he feels they never made up. And obviously Daryl, feels he owes it to Rick, because it's because him and Maggie never agreed with never agreed with Rick's decision to let Negan live, even saving his life at the end of season 8. So it's understandable, but it's still just that whole complicated thing of he knows where the path of revenge will lead you, and he doesn't want Carol to go down that path, because he does care about it. And obviously the title of this episode is called Squeeze, and obviously we see where that name comes from, because they literally have to squeeze through. The entire time, as a big dude myself, I'm oh, Jerry, I feel bad for you, Jerry. But then Jerry, I don't know if I'm claustrophobic. This episode makes you feel like I don't know, makes you a little short of breath. You're just like that. Just I think tight spaces do seem like they bother me. So I'm more. I don't know. I've never been in a situation where I've been in a really tight space, but part of me wonders, am I a bit claustrophobic myself? But obviously, like, the fact of the matter is, going through all that is not the easiest thing. Hell, it was interesting because even Connie being the one to calm her down to be like, you are okay. Like, we got you during this, you know. So I even love at one point Aaron asking Jerry if he's okay. He's like, I'm a 6-foot dude that basically had to squeeze into airplane bathrooms and stuff like that. So I'm not okay. But it's just kind of like, it's also the knowledge that, like, literally it could, I mean, granted, it comes up later on, but you just feel like, just, like I said, just tight spaces. It just, like, and I think that's the point of the episode, too, is to make you kind of feel claustrophobic, too, that they kind of take it with you, and you just, like I said, it just kind of tricked me into kind of taking shorter breaths, so I'm like, it made me, feel uncomfortable along with them, so they ended up making their way, well, because they did come across, well, they came out at one point, and then they find what is essentially her hoard, and Daryl ended up dropping that severed Walker arm down the pit, and then it was like, it lit up for a little bit, showing quite a few of the Walkers, and then immediately it was succumbed with darkness. It's like, it's nothing but pitch black down there. For one, it's a long-ass fall, plus there's a shit ton of Walkers down there, so it's like, I guess it's like a more, like, I guess that area they were in already was already, like, a lot of them corralled together. I'm assuming that pit down there was at least the rest of it, or, like, the other half of it, or whatever the case may be, as Carol kind of says it later on. But they find another way forward, But then, like, that, like, it was, once again, nerve-wracking because, like, all right, they're going, and Carol's literally freaking out in the middle of, like, the tunnel, but luckily, like, Daryl and Connie, like, Connie's touching the back of her boot, being like, hey, I'm here, I got you, and then, Daryl's calling for her, then obviously there's Walkers behind them, and, it's just trudging along, and you're like, okay, come on, and Jerry's the last one, you're like, oh, come on, Jerry, and they're grabbing Jerry's foot, and he's stuck because of his armor and everything, it's like, oh, come on, and then they're, like, biting on his feet and stuff, like, luckily they were able to get to Jerry's like, oh, because I was about to say, please don't let this be how it goes down for Jerry. Luckily, they were able to pull Jerry out, and they were like, no, it's good. They didn't get you. They didn't get to the shoes. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I saw blood and stuff. I was like, oh, no, that's just blood from, like, I guess, him kicking the Walkers and everything. But it's like, okay. But then, like, Kelly found some dynamite, and I was like, okay. They made such a point to focus on the fact of her putting it back with all the other. I was like, something's going to go wrong, because, like, dynamite is very sensitive, so, like, certain things hitting it would set it off. So I'm like, okay. So because of that, I'm like, especially a crate full of it, I was like, something's gonna go wrong. Like, I was almost scared Kelly put it back, but it seemed like, oh, no, it's good. Because, if they moved stuff too fast, like, obviously a whole system would collapse upon them. So obviously they're making their way through. Daryl turns around. Wait, where's Carol? It's like, he literally just said, if I turn my back on you, you're gonna do something, and she does. And she goes off, takes a stick of dynamite. I don't know how much she ended up taking with her. I guess it was just the one stick, but she was planning on lighting it. She put it where some rocks are, so I'm guessing the whole point was it kind of called like a rock slide / avalanche to kind of basically, because one stick of dynamite wasn't going to be enough, but if you bring down enough of the cave system, it was going to end up crushing a lot of them, or, at least trapping them in here. But Daryl came back and got her. It's like, what are you trying to do? And she's like, we could wipe out half the horde right now. And he's like, you would end up getting yourself killed. She's like, she killed my boy, And it's like, because once again, you also have to remember, like, this is the first time Carol's had a kid in a long time, because she lost her daughter a long time ago. Once again, way back in season 2. That was a shit ton that was a long ass time ago, even within just the confines of how long the show has been on air, but also just in the confines of, because we've gone through multiple time skips, so it's been a very long time, and it's just like, she had a family again, and Alpha took that from her. Like, you never thought, after losing your family, like, losing her daughter, you thought she probably never thought she'd be 100% okay again, and then, like, in the heat of shit that is the apocalypse, all the Walking Dead, she found a family, she had a son, And, I mean, well, let's not even forget the other two that she was taking care of, her and, God, what's, Sasha's brother, wasn't it? Was it Tyrese? I think so. God, I'm like, that was a while back too. But the little girls they were taking care of too. It's one thing after another, and we know that that's something that's been haunting Carol ever since, too. So it's like it compound upon itself, and this is just the most recent thing that I think it all just finally made her finally just snap. So, but because of that, like, the cave sit, like, Connie came back for her, and Magna wasn't going to let Connie go by herself. So it's like, so she went with her, and luckily they were able to get to Daryl and Carol and kind of get them out. And Jerry's holding it all. I'm like, oh, dude, this isn't good. But Magna is kind of like telling him to go, and so he goes. And her and Connie get stuck behind, and obviously the dynamite explodes, and it sets off, a chain reaction of like the cave system caving in with them on the other side. And in that moment, it's just kind of like, shit. And even Carol realized that. It's like, I screwed up. And obviously, Daryl's desperate. They're like, no, we got to get them out. But Kelly's like, no, even through her tears, it's like, we can't do that because we're not going to do any good, because that's going to bring all the skins and that's going to bring all the walkers. Like, there's no doing this. We can't save them if we're dead. And as he's walking away, like, he's looking at her and Carol's breaking down like, you were right. You cared about her, and because of that, she's gone now because of me. Basically tell me it's my fault. It's the thing of like, yell at me, but the thing is, despite what she does, Daryl's always calm with her. He never gets upset with her, but she's like, blame me, it's my fault. Everyone just kind of walks past her, not saying anything, because it's like, Kelly has every right to be pissed. Like, they all kind of do, but and I think that makes her feel worse because it's like, you're not just yell at me, get pissed at me. This is my fault, my desperation. Once again, it's not just because I think in her own mind, she's like, because she's so dead set on revenge, she's not paying attention to everyone else. That's kind of a casualty of all of this because of using people. Like, that's why Lydia ended up running off after Daryl was so desperate to keep her around and stuff like that. And obviously other people like Michonne look at her as kind of a pawn piece of like, well, Alpha is less likely to come after us, if her daughter's here. Because at the end of the day, it's almost sadly, it seems like Daryl might literally be the only person that cares about her. Because obviously, you think like, Carol would, just because it's like, well, Henry cared about her. He fought and sacrificed for her. But it's like, and even Carol went through the trouble of saving her despite everything, And I think in moments like this, they have like more commonality. There's a lot more. Well, yeah, like I said, commonality between them in that certain regard of just kind of like other people have kind of suffered because of you and your actions or just you in general. So I don't know. I'm curious to see where things kind of go from there because, it makes Carol feel even worse because once again, Connie helped her through it. It's like she told her like, no, you're okay. She had her back and everything, literally came back for her. So it's like, of course, you're going to feel even more guilty about it. But obviously for Daryl, it's like the skin, like, the Whisperers got in somehow before them, so it's like there's got to be another way into that system, so we got to, potentially find a way. And it's like, you guys go back and tell them we found the Whisperers horde and everything, so it's like, dude, that... Whew. So, there's that side of things. Then on the other side of things, Alpha's kind of like, all right, because they knew exactly where the horde was, all right, that must mean they had spies cross over into our borders telling Gamma, like, okay, go to the borders, tell them to kind of, some of them didn't do their job because of that. Side note, I should also note, because I keep bringing up Gamma, I recently discovered the actress who plays Gamma, her name is Thora Birch. I just like randomly came across something and I kind of looked her up and I was like, oh, because I kept looking, because I saw the name Thora Birch and I looked at her, I was like, why does she look so familiar? Come to find out, I was like, because I saw she was associated with The Walking Dead, I was like, who did she play in The Walking Dead? She's Gamma. So, but the real interesting thing is, if you remember a little Disney movie called Hocus Pocus, she was the little sister in Hocus Pocus. That blew my mind. I was like, what? I haven't seen that movie in forever. I was like, holy shit. Because now within my mind, I'm like, that totally was her, wasn't it? I was like, that's nutty, dude. That's so crazy. But nevertheless, I was just like, oh, caught up on that. And obviously it's like, and the look on Gamma's face, like almost like, oh, wait, yeah. oh wow, oh, I'm like, oh, she's almost being found out and she's leaving. And then Alpha's kind of got this look that made me go, "There's Alpha now?" But then like there's a look on Negan's face like, oh, he knows, because I guess he's dealt with dissension amongst the ranks. He literally dealt with it with Dwight, so I think he recognizes the signs of it. And so while Alpha, which is interesting, because we also learned that basically they have a piss and shit like zone, and it makes sense. But basically Negan comes over to her and he goes like, yeah, I think you're looking for a spy, but it's a lot closer to home. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm not trying to tell you how to run your operation, but he's like, no, I was literally in the same situation. I was a king, and in your case, you're a queen. The fact of the matter is, you like to think like, because you get so many people that kind of believe in your message, you basically start thinking that your shit don't smell, but at the end of the day, it does. So meaning that there, basically every kingdom has its, deserters and those who would kind of turn against it. Because at the same time, it's like, because obviously Alpha's like, no one would do that because everyone would, believes me. Everyone, believes in what they, what they've accomplished together as, the Whisperers. But, Negan's reminding her, it's like, yeah, it literally felt the same way until like the whole Savior situation literally blew up in his face like that. But that's because Alpha, I'm curious to see if she's ever going to find out, because I think sadly at one point she's going to confront Gamma, and Gamma's going to tell her the truth. Like, I know, and she might do this in front of because Alpha wants to take Gamma and kill her in front of everybody to, set the record straight, that anyone else that might think of, like, turning their back, it's like, oh, set the record straight. But I'm like, well, I might not want to do that because Gamma's going to bring up the fact is, yeah, but what about your daughter Lydia, who's super alive and everything? The fact of the matter is, you said you killed her. It's like you didn't keep your word in this whole situation, which that's going to compromise her situation. Which, to be fair, that's why I'm so surprised that she's going to be so okay with Negan, considering Negan knows your secret. But I guess it's like, well, if you expose mine, I could kill you at any point in time. Which, obviously Negan's not, really all about, spilling his guts about everything. But it's just an interesting turn of events, and obviously it's like because she didn't like what he said. Basically, don't tell this to anybody else, and she pushes him into the piss and shit pile, and she ends up telling Beta, because even Negan was like, yeah, basically yeah, he's too loyal. He's also kind of like he would never do that. He believes too much in what Alpha does, even to the point that he questions her authority because he feels like she's kind of strayed away from the original path, too. So that's interesting. But at the end of the day, she realized, like, yeah, we got to find Gamma, bring her back to me so I can kill her in front of everybody. And then, like, she tells Negan to come with her. At one point, he's like, oh, Mom's mad at me. And the guy he's sitting across doesn't crack a smile. And Negan's almost just like, why am I... Almost like he's like a comedian where a joke didn't land. He's like, why am I wasting my best material? It's like, you guys have no sense of humor. It's like, that was comedy gold I just gave to you, and you give me nothing. That's kind of the look he had on his face. So they're walking, and I think even Negan kind of started getting worried, like, okay, are you going to kill me or something? He's like, what did I do? And he's like, all right, fine. She's like, stop talking. He's like, fine. He literally stops for a couple seconds, and he's like, all right, I'm a guy to admit, I'll even be the first one to admit, I'm the type of guy that doesn't do well in long periods of silence. It's like, yeah, because it kind of makes sense, because Negan likes to talk. He likes to hear the sound of his own voice. And you're just walking, and then she's just kind of like, nope, keep turning around and like, oh, what's going to happen here? And then he's like, come on, the fact of the matter is, he's like, I became a monster because that was what was necessary for this world. I saved people. I helped build something powerful. I guess kind of trying to make it sound useful to her, like, you don't need to do this. And she's telling him to strip. I'm like, she's not doing what? She's not, what? I'm like, this isn't what I think it is. And she's like, turn around. She's like, turn around. And then Alpha's butt naked too. And I'm like, and she's like, basically, he's a, God, what was essentially kind of like, oh, you're the crass person that you are, so I figured you deserve a crass reward. And Negan's just kind of like, whoa. And it's like, oh, so you're going to leave that mask on? She's like, what, does my true skin bother? He's like, actually, no, weirdly enough, it kind of does it for me. And then they're about to do this, and he's like, whoa. Is this going to be one of those, praying mantis situations where after you cut my head off? It's like, holy crap. Like, a lot of creatures do that, don't they? Like, kill you after sex? I mean, because isn't that what spiders do? Like, after they mate, don't they end up well, kind of, I know spiders eat at least some of their babies, don't they? But I think, don't they end up like, maybe it's just praying mantises. I'm thinking, I think after they bone, they slice off the head of their partner. I think so. I feel like I vaguely remember spiders do that too. I could have sworn they killed. I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about animals. But the praying mantis thing, I feel like I vaguely knew that. But like, I feel like same similar thing to spiders too. But regardless, and she's like, pulling him in and everything, and he's like, honestly, that still wasn't you never actually said no about that. But he's like, kind of like, no, either way, I'll take my chances. And she's like, stop talking. And I'm like, yo, so interesting. I didn't see that coming. That was never in my thoughts would have been like, oh yeah, Negan and Alpha are gonna bang it out. I mean, granted, I kind of wondered if that's where it was going the moment she had him stripping down, but I'm like, before this, how many people get on and say they saw that coming? That's an interesting development all on its own. So it seems like, hey, things are looking up for Negan. Not looking so good for Daryl in the group, so I'm curious to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Some very interesting developments. I caught little peeks at the next preview, and it seems like we're going back to Alexandria. It might be another episode or two before we catch up with Michonne at all. Maybe not. We'll ultimately have to wait and see. I'm curious to see where everything is heading, going forward. Especially the whole Negan thing, because I'm like, it seems like he's being true blue to this, but I'm thinking, when the time comes, is he actually going to help out Gamma or not? Like, because I mean, staying behind didn't really do him any good, with everything. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to turn into. I think the fact that the matter is when the time comes, I'm pretty sure, like, because Alpha already has taken a liking to Negan, and I think, if Beta found out about that, he wouldn't be happy. There's already been levels of competition, but I think at the end of the day, Negan's going to end up killing Beta, because he's going to start questioning Alpha's authority, so either she's going to straight up kill him, or she's going to get Negan to do it. That's my initial thought, but we'll ultimately have to wait and see, like I said, where everything takes us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.